We're going to use, you can use your own research. You can use a previous article as a starting point, or you can use another article. Today we're using the proceedings article as what we call the participants article here. And then the target publication article will be the journal article, because we all want to make sure that we understand what are the requirements and what are the differences between what I have and what I need to have. So our target publication will be a journal article. And in this case, it's an article from an accredited journal. How are we going to find out or figure out a system to make sure that our sections of our paper meet the objectives that they're supposed to meet? We're going to look at a paper, and we're going to use some guiding questions to help us pull out that information. In writing, okay, when you say what you're trying to do in a section to meet that objective, or to make sure that the section accomplishes its purpose, we call it rhetorical move. Have you heard that before? Rhetorical move? Yes? No? Yes? No? Yeah? Okay. You can tell. Okay. So rhetorical move means when you are writing, okay, every section has a purpose. To accomplish that section, you need to engage in certain actions in your paper. For example, if the point of an abstract is to provide an overview of a paper, what is it that I need to do to make sure that my abstract contains an overview? Okay? And so what I need to do is my move, is my rhetorical move. We call it rhetorical because the art of academic writing or persuasion in general is called rhetoric, right? So the word rhetoric means communicating effectively to an audience, right? And when you're writing, you need to communicate and accomplish that goal of that section, okay? So I'm going to show you what I want you to do in groups in about 10 minutes or so. So pay attention to what I'm going to show you here, what I'm going to do, because you're going to have to do the same thing, okay? And by analyzing what I'll do, you'll be able to see an example of it. So we'll be comparing two different articles, analyzing similarities and differences. Now, we're going to observe the organization of paragraphs. We're going to look at language, okay? And we're going to look at how the article uses references, both at the end or inside the article, inside the sections themselves. And we're going to follow the example of a comparison that I'm going to model, like I just said. So I'm going to start from the beginning of an article, which is the abstract. Okay? So when I compare two abstracts, I'm going to look at how similar or different they are in terms of organization and paragraph development. Okay? How, when I look at a proceedings article and a journal article, are there any differences in organization when I talk about the abstract? Okay? Are there similarities? Okay? How do they flow? Are they coherent? Okay? Language. I'm going to look what types of verbs does the writer use in the abstract? And what types of sentences? And maybe what tenses do those verbs come in? Okay? And I'm going to look at the background and references, number and types of citations. So this is the abstract that you have now. Okay? And again, this was taken from a published proceedings book, okay, from a conference. So we're not looking at whether the sentences are correct or not. We're looking at the purpose here. It's a more general analysis. Okay, so let's go. The students will study more effectively when they know what they're doing in their writing subject. They expect feedback about the score they have received for their achievement, and suggestions for how they can improve their language. Teachers are often suggested giving learners the opportunity to self-correct or invite other students to correct their work. However, a number of problems with learner self-correction will arise, such as learners typically prefer the teacher doing or correcting their works, or students can only correct their own works if they have the necessary linguistic knowledge. Therefore, we have clear grounds to motivate self-correction. The teachers can offer another alternative, that is peer correction, when that fails. The presentation will start discussing about concepts of assessment, including oral and written corrective feedback. Next, the step and the task will be elaborated. This paper is designed to give description on how learners can improve their linguistic accuracy. Any questions so far? No? Everybody understand what's written there? Yeah? And can everyone understand? Okay, now let's look at the article. You're going to receive a copy of this article when I ask you to split into groups. You don't need it now. We can follow here. This is an abstract, not from a proceedings article, from an accredited journal article. Okay? This article reports a study on teachers' use of interaction strategies in English language teaching, ELT, in lower secondary level of education. The study involved 18 teachers from lower secondary schools in Malang, East Java. Classroom observation was selected as a method in this study by utilizing self-evaluation teacher talk, SETT, as the instrument. SET, or SETT, developed by Walsh, was adopted as the observation protocol as it characterizes teacher-student interaction. 30 lessons taught by 18 teachers were observed. The findings revealed that much of the teacher-student interaction in lower secondary schools centered on the material mode, skill, and system mode. The most frequent strategies were initiation response feedback, IRF patterns, display questions, teacher echo, and extended teacher turns, while students' extended turns were rare. It is argued that in order to improve the Indonesian ELT, there is a need to provide an alternative to ELT classroom interaction. The article concludes by highlighting the importance of adopting some classroom interaction strategies. They are more facilitative to students' oral communicative competence. Now, I'm not going to focus on the technical language. I'm focusing on what is the writer doing, right? When I compare those two articles, first of all, I used a table, and I'm going to give you a table when I ask you to do the same. So, the proceedings paper, okay, I looked at how is the abstract organized, and you're going to have questions on your table too. How is the paragraph development? How is flow? Okay, what verb tenses are mostly used and why? What reporting verbs are used? Are citations used? If so, how are they included? Are they in the text? Are they in parentheses, outside parentheses? Right? This is important to know. And any comments about things that I noticed that the questions don't really address. Okay? So let me show you, I looked at those two abstracts, and this is what I found. Okay? How is the abstract organized? I saw that in the proceedings paper, I saw some general statements in the beginning that we just read about the need for writing feedback. I saw statements about problems with learner self-correction, right? That's what it was about. And then the abstract presents the study and describes the objectives, right? Now, when I looked at the journal paper, this is what I found. One paragraph only containing a description of objectives, and then description of study, and then overview of results, and then summary of discussion, and then summary of. Notice that in the journal article, the abstract is a mini summary of the whole article, right? There is a sentence or two about each of the sections. So if I'm going to write an article to submit to a journal, which one of those columns should I look at to guide myself? The journal paper article. That's why it's very powerful to actually do this comparison, because you can understand an article that is similar to the one that you have to get done or to accomplish. Okay? Verb tenses. In the proceedings, I saw that the present and future were used when making general statements, and the present and future were used when presenting the study results. Okay? In the journal paper, I saw the present was used when describing the scope and the purpose of the paper, but when they were talking about how the study was conducted, they used the past. Why? Because this is methods, right? There were one or two sentences about methods. And the methods, it's already finished, concluded, done, that part of the research. So they use the past. That's an important element to consider when I write my abstract, if I'm going to include a sentence about methods or not. Okay? Reporting verbs. There were two reporting verbs in the proceedings journal, suggest and discuss. What verbs did I find in my journal paper? Can you read them for me? Report, involve, select, adopt, review, argue, conclude. So which paper makes more use of reporting verbs? Journal. Okay? This should be a guideline for me when I prepare my my abstract. I should have a list of reporting verbs to rely on. So I do it right. Citations. Are there any citations in the proceedings paper? Nope. Okay. But there is one citation about measurement instrument used in analysis. Because I don't know if you remember. Let me go back here. But this article, they talked about the set that was developed by Walsh. So if this is an instrument that you didn't create, then you have to include the citation. Okay? It's not mandatory to include it, but if you refer to something that somebody else did, then you have to include a citation. Okay? So I looked at this. I looked at this column because this is what interests me. But in order to get here, I needed to compare both, right? And I looked at this, and I did one more step in my analysis, which is I created a set of guidelines to guide me when I write my abstract. How did I do that? I looked at that column that says journal paper, and I turned those pieces of information into sentences to guide me. So you're going to have a table in your groups. I'm going to give you a section, one of a proceedings article, one from a journal article. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to compare both, what you find, using the questions. Now, when you finish that part with your group, you will take the journal paper section, and you're going to turn that into guidelines. And I'm going to give you a table like this. What did I learn from my comparison? What did I learn from comparing the two abstracts? If I have to write a journal paper, what do I have to include in my abstract? Well, the abstract is written as a single paragraph, so I need to make sure that I have a single paragraph that contains brief descriptions of study objectives, methods, findings, and discussion. See how helpful this can be when you actually write? Because you can check. Okay? I have to make sure that my verb tenses are used appropriately when addressing the scope and the goals of the study. In this case, I'm going to use either the present or the future. Or if I refer to my methods, I'm going to use the past. So this is also helpful because it's a clear guideline. I'm going to make use of reporting verbs, okay, because they help report information. I'm going to include citations if I make any reference to studies or instruments. If I don't make them, then I don't need citations, okay? I will need them throughout the paper, but not necessarily in the abstract. And I want to make sure that my abstract is an effective summary of the main goals and findings of my paper, okay? And I'm going to make sure that the abstract contains keyword lists, okay, which is a list of keywords in the end, okay? Any questions about this? Is that clear? Okay, so in your groups, I'm going to give you two articles, one from a proceedings journal and the other one from an accredited journal, okay? And your group will have one section to compare, okay? You're only going to focus on that section. So if I say methods, you're just going to focus on the methods section. And you're going to fill in the table with information from what you find in the proceedings article and what your group finds in the accredited journal article. Okay? And then you're going to get the information from the accredited journal article, and you're going to turn that into guidelines. And guess what? In the end of this workshop, we will be able to take pictures of all the checklists that all the groups created. So we're going to have one checklist for each section of a paper that we can write. So we can use that to guide us when we are writing. That's the goal. Okay? We are going to create our own instruments that will guide us when putting a paper together. Is that clear? Okay? So first task, compare, fill in the table. Second task, fill in the checklist. Any questions?